Hello, everyone, and welcome to this particular session of Soul Talks. Today, I'm extremely glad to have Mr. Rajeev Peshawaria with us. When I was told that we are going to be having a session with him, I very confidently jumped in and said I would do the session myself. I've met with him before, and his talk was very inspiring. I'm sure you will have a lot of fun while we continue with this session. So Rajeev is the CEO of Stewardship Asia Centre in Singapore and the founder president of the Leadership Energy Consulting Company in Seattle, Washington. He served as the Chief Learning Officer of Coca-Cola and Morgan Stanley and has held several senior positions at American Express, HSBC, and Goldman Sachs, where he helped found the Leadership Academy, Pine Street. He has also authored a bunch of different books, which have gone on to become Wall Street Journal and Amazon bestsellers. Some of them are Open Source Leadership, Too Many Bosses, Too Few Leaders. He was the co-author of Be the Change and the latest book, Sustainable Sustainability, which is where I met him a couple of months back. So Rajeev, thank you very much for joining us today and welcome to this program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So your latest book, Sustainable Sustainability, it argues that traditional frameworks like ESG are insufficient for addressing today's existential challenges. Can you elaborate on what's the key missing link you identify and how it impacts both sustainability as well as mental health?
Short answer is one word: leadership. So you see, we look at whether it's environmental sustainability or social sustainability, we are trying to solve a leadership issue with capital, regulations, measurements, and incentives. That's what ESG is all about. And that's all important. But I think what it takes to make something better is leadership. And we are not talking about leadership. And mental health is very much a leadership issue in the corporate world as well.
Sure. So are you suggesting that it's become almost like a tick in the box, wherein it should essentially be looking at more transformationally at what is going on?
So there are different players in the market. As far as the corporations are concerned, there are 5 types of players. Those who are greenwashing. They are willfully deceiving, not doing anything about sustainability, but actually falsifying information to get by. Then there are the in denial people. They know what climate change, what inequality, what human issues are we? There are no such things. Then you have the window dressers who say, oh, everybody's talking about sustainability these days, we better look good. So they do a little bit to look good, but it's more form than substance.
Sure.
Then there are the box checkers who are doing what the law says and no more, because many countries are now passing regulations on these issues. So again, they'll check the box on the law and no more. Very few are real, what we call steward leaders. They actually not only address these challenges of climate change and socioeconomic inequality and other human issues, they actually grow their business by addressing them.
Sure.
So it's a spectrum, and very few are on the right side of the spectrum.
Sure. I completely understand. When I started Solh Wellness as a mental wellness platform, the first thing that I said was Solh Wellness is going to be doing good, and that's going to be good business. I think there is so much opportunity if you do good and you really look at your business as in terms of what value are you adding to your humanity or what value are you adding to every individual that you touch. I think there is just tremendous that can be done.
Exactly. You see, we are looking at sustainability as a cost problem, as a compliance problem, or as risk problem, whereas we should be looking at it as an opportunity. Exactly as you said. In fact, forget about sustainability for a minute. Most people just want to make money, right? Now, the history of money making, history of wealth generation actually says that when an entrepreneur was able to put the finger on the biggest pain points of society at a particular point of time and find a profitable solution, they made ultra amounts of wealth. Absolutely. So today's biggest pain points are climate change, socioeconomic inequality, and all the issues that come with it, including mental health, as well as cyber vulnerability. Anybody who can find profitable solutions to solve such human problems is going to make huge amounts of money. So we have to look at it as an opportunity. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. So in your experience as a leader and as an advisor, how do you see this intersection of corporate sustainability and mental health within various organizations? And what strategies have you found effective in aligning these critical areas?
So, it's funny. Just earlier today, I was giving a session to an audience of 200 people, and the title of my session is a 90-minute session called On Life, Leadership, Happiness, and Success. And we were talking about exactly these things. Here's the thing. Uh, Hundreds of billions of dollars are spent every year collectively on executive training and education.
Mhm.
80 billion of that pie goes straight into executive education on leadership training, and we are yet not addressing the human problems that are causing the biggest pain points today. And mental health is one of those. In order for a business to succeed, in order for society to advance, we need innovation. And for innovation, you need a calm mind. And without a calm mind, leave alone innovation, you can't even do your regular day job.
Absolutely.
Whereas innovation needs the highest form of creativity, and you cannot be creative until your mind is totally calm and the mind is ambitious enough to think about the future and reimagine the.
Mhm.
So if you don't address mental health issues, how are you going to free the mind to focus on the future and to focus on innovation? That's the connection between mental health. And today, mobile phone addiction is a huge, huge issue. Is just one aspect of mental health. People can't go to the bathroom without their cell phones these days. It's really becoming a problem, and that's just one issue. The fact that social media creates all these instant gratification avenues, that I put out something and I get a million likes right away. If I don't, I get depressed. So there are all kinds of things leading to modern life is leading to all kinds of mental health issues.
Mhm.
What devices that were designed for connectivity, that was supposed to bring us closer as human beings, have created the biggest crisis of disconnection.
Yep.
And so we need to address these things. Otherwise, how are we going to move society forward with innovation?
Mhm. So a few years back, while I was running a digital marketing agency, I remember I once put a post out saying, "I'm so proud I have been part of this, this thing called as social media and digital marketing that has totally transformed the world." At the same time, I worry so much at times in, oh my God, what have we unleashed? So
Exactly.
absolutely. I mean, looking at,
But
sorry, go
no,
ahead,
I
please.
was just going to say that technology has always been a double-edged sword.
Absolutely.
Okay, it protects and creates as well as destroys. And
Absolutely.
so the question is, we have to stay on the front edge of it and make sure that it creates and protects more than it destroys.
Absolutely. This is a question that I very regularly have, specifically when I visit schools, because my mental wellness platform is tech enabled. So it needs or it increases the screen time of students. And the schools always fight for reduced screen time. And I always tell them, I'm not asking them to increase screen time. I'm just asking them to replace their screen time to do more meaningful things like take care of their mental health versus going to Instagram, watching reels, and actually destroying their mental wellness.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, we come up with sort of blanket answers that this is good and this is bad. There is never such a thing as black and white.
Absolutely.
Life is a blend, and you have to look at a blended solution.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, even otherwise, even if I don't think about mental health, technology does provide a huge advantage to student learning these days in terms of the availability of information, in terms of what all they can do, in terms of the global connectivity. Of course, it can be misused. Like you said, it's always a double-edged sword. So let me move forward from there. So, given your background in leadership and governance, what role do you think specifically CEOs and senior executives should play in fostering a culture that supports both sustainability as well as the wellness of their employees?
Like you yourself said, wellness is a subset of the former, right? To So here's what people get wrong, organizations get wrong. There are 17 SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, right? They try to address all of them, and they try to do a little bit of everything to show, oh, we are doing something. No, you need to focus on one or two, which are most closely linked to your business, and go deep rather than go broad, because
Absolutely.
nobody can do everything. Okay, so pick an area. And secondly, understand that in a digital economy where 70 to 90% of corporate value lies in intangible assets rather than tangible assets, people and their wellness is absolutely the differentiator between long-term success and failure. So you don't take care of the well-being of your people, there is no way your business is going to succeed for the long term. It is all about people now. Gone are the days where 70% of the balance sheet used to be plant and machinery and other hard assets. Today, 70 to 90% of value resides in intangibles. So you have to. So earlier they used to say, oh, as a fiduciary of the shareholder, I need to focus on the tangibles. Well, today value lies in intangibles. So you better focus on wellness and well-being and reputation and talent and leadership and innovation.
Yep. So a question that I usually ask people when I go for my workshops is, we all have good days and bad days. And my question to organizations is, if I'm able to reduce the number of bad days that you have and the intensity of those bad days, tell me what percentage productivity improvement can I provide you? And then go out and look for any productivity tool, whether it is implementing a Slack or implementing a Microsoft solution or implementing some other, productivity enhancement capability. Is there anything that can even remotely close to that kind of a number? And at times that would be really the importance of looking at sustainability in an overarching sense. So,
Yeah.
So Rajeev, you have worked in both finance as well as executive development. How do you reconcile this, often conflicting priorities of financial performance and long-term sustainability? And what impact does this have on specifically employee well-being?
Well, so the best of leaders don't see any conflict whatsoever. I've had the fortune of working for companies where we don't believe there is any conflict. If anything, there is a direct correlation between investing in your culture, investing in your environment, and long-term financial viability and longevity. In fact, we believe that we have mathematical research now to show that steward leadership, which is based on those four values of interdependence, long-term view, ownership mentality, and creative resilience, actually creates longevity for a business. Businesses that last more than 50 years believe that the more they give to society, the more their business is going to succeed, which is interdependence, and the other three as well. So in the minds of the best leaders, there is no conflict. Those who see those as opposing things, they are the ones who don't survive. And the average lifespan of a business these days is 18 years. But anything that lasts longer, for those leaders and those companies, like in India, the Tatas, for example, they've been around for 155 years. They've always invested in human well-being and society. And they tell you that the reason we've been so successful for 155 years is because we've always invested in society. So the best of the best don't, and this is not just in India. I mean, you take Germany, you take the United States, you take any part of the world, and we've got a database of over 500 companies now who excel at doing well by doing good. They make money by addressing human problems, just like you are trying to do. So there's plenty of proven data points now that say that actually, if you want profitable growth and longevity for your business, then steward leadership is the right answer.
Absolutely agree. So in your keynote speeches as well as your writings, you have always emphasized managing in the age of digital disruption. How does this digital transformation influence your sustainability effort?
So here's the thing, right? Human beings have never been more empowered than ever before. Now, they are more empowered than ever before in human history now. Why? Because everybody has a weapon of mass destruction right in their pockets.
Absolutely.
Right? So this gives us tremendous power to do good as well as do bad. Let's stay on the positives. We can get our voices heard. We can contribute to something from anywhere. So digital and connectivity allows us the power to get our voices to wherever we need to get work done from wherever we are, etc., etc. In other words, we are free. Gone are the days where you all were in under one roof, and the bosses told you what to do, and you were under their watchful eye. And you also listened to them because they were the stores of knowledge. Because you be their a good apprentice, they will teach you, and then in turn you will become CEO one day. Today, the guru is dead. Long live Google, because information is available for free, right? So A, we are more empowered. B, we have all the information. C, we have all the flexibility to contribute from anywhere. Now, most of management practice and literature is built on one word, and it's called control. Let's get everybody in the same building so we can control them. Let's get everybody, give them KPIs so we can control them. Let's watch them. And if let's create rules and policies with which we can control human behavior. And so one person does one bad thing, here comes 5 new policies, and those who didn't do anything wrong also suffer. So that was the way business was done for hundreds of years.
Yep.
Today, with the kind of world that we live in, we call it the open source era, where ordinary people are more empowered than ever before and freer. You cannot control them even if you want to. So when COVID came, you had no choice but to allow people to work from home. Now, the insecure leaders were putting software devices into people's computers to make sure whether they're spending their day on the keyboard or whether they're spending their day cutting vegetables in the kitchen. The secure leaders said, I don't care how you spend your time at home, whether you're looking after your child or cutting vegetables, as long as the work gets done. Right? So the entire basis of management theory needs to change. You need to give up the idea that management happens with control. So you have to give up the idea of management by control and start the idea of leadership with values. You empower people to live the values and then give them freedom to do whatever they want. That's the new sort of paradigm. But most people are very insecure and they won't do that.
Sure. And I think this is where, when you mentioned earlier that organizations need to decide almost like which battles do you want to fight? I mean, there are 17 SDGs defined by UN. There are, 4 to 5, 6 key principles in every one of those 17 SDGs. I mean, you really got to decide where, as an organization, what your business model is, which areas can you impact, and how do you kind of work about it? I mean, you can't go net zero if you're working in a chemical industry that does generate some pollution. I mean, you can look at minimizing it, but,
Yeah, and that's the problem. You see, we rely too much on measurements and incentives, and that creates bad behavior. So you keep polluting the world and you keep buying carbon credits. Is that a good way to go net zero? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Some people say it is, some people say it is not, but it's a huge problem. But the way we lead people, in coming back to mental health, today's day and age, we need to have leaders who are more secure in their own skin, who can lead with values.
Yep.
You give people a non-negotiable core. This is the purpose of the organization. These are the values of the organization. If you don't violate that, you're free to do your work whichever way that works for you. No problem. And if people don't deliver, then fire them. But you will find that the more trust you give to people, 96% of the people will return your trust with more responsibility.
Okay.
But no, we manage with controls because we are fearful. Because we ourselves are not comfortable in our own skin.
Sure. In fact, one of the things that I always tell leaders, at least the ones that work with me or that I interact with, the best way to lead is to look at how will you make yourself jobless. If you can grow to the level where you don't have anything more to do, is when you will move to the next level, is when I will move to the next level, is when the entire ecosystem is going to grow and flourish. If you keep worrying about how do I, secure that one piece that I do, I mean, it will never happen. Just let people under you grow. Just let them take on all the work that you are doing today, and you are already at the next level.
I will just add one more nuance to what you just said. Most people get stuck in today's business model because today's business model is a cash cow, which is making the company a lot of money. You've got to make yourself redundant in today's business model so that you can focus and create tomorrow's business model.
Absolutely.
But if you are always holding on to today's business model, who's going to create tomorrow's model?
Absolutely.
So that is why you need to make yourself jobless. Not by jobless doesn't mean that you make yourself totally jobless. You make yourself jobless so that even without you, the current business model is continuing to churn cash for the company while you are freeing yourself to focus on tomorrow's model.
Absolutely. So, as an author and as a motivational speaker, what advice would you give to leaders who are looking to integrate sustainability in their organization as a culture, while also prioritizing mental health for them?
And understand and learn from the companies that are already doing well by doing good. And there are hundreds of them. What we found is that those companies do 5 things. First of all, they incorporate 4 specific values into their culture. And when I say incorporate them into their culture, they make it a way of life that people are living those values even when no one is looking. And as I mentioned earlier, those four values are interdependence, the belief that the more we give, the more we will receive. Long-term view, we are going to think in generations, not in quarters and years. Number three, ownership mentality. We take ownership for today's human problems, and we will find a way to, we will find profitable solutions for them. Every employee will. And fourth is creative resilience, which is we will never give up on innovation. Yes, it is difficult, but we will never give up on innovation. So the first thing is to incorporate those four values within your culture. Make sure these are not just posters on the wall. Okay, I usually give the example of Netflix company. They articulate. They used to have a big policy on travel and entertainment expenses. When do you spend business class? When do you go on economy? When do you spend on how much you spend on breakfast or lunch while on the business trip? One fine day, they threw away that binder and replaced it with a single new sentence. The new policy for travel and entertainment expenses is act in Netflix best interest. Really. Now employees are empowered to decide based on the company values what is right and wrong. Travel and entertainment expenses went down 30% in the next 3 years.
Perfect.
So that is the first step, to incorporate those four values and empower people to live those values. And the fifth thing is articulate a purpose which creates a collective better future, not just for you and your shareholders, but for wider society as well. And then make sure that everything you do as a company, you run through the lens of those values and that purpose. Is as simple as that.
Sure. So it's not even about you working in an area where you can make a contribution. It is about figuring out in whatever you are doing, what are the minor contributions that you can make in terms of sustainability, in terms of mental wellness, in terms of employee growth, in terms of leadership, and in terms of providing value to your eventual customers, to your employees, and to the kind of the entire ecosystem that you work in.
Absolutely. And as you said earlier, pick a few things and go deeper.
In fact, while we were working on our mental health platform, one of the things which really fascinated us, we kind of went down and did a very detailed research on the UN SDGs. And what we figured out was 8 out of the 17 SDGs as they are defined will not be complete without a comprehensive mental wellness intervention. And for us, some of them became very key, while others are definitely areas that we will impact, that we will, participate in. But some of them became really the focal point of how we are looking at the kind of interventions that we are doing, and the value proposition that kind of arrives from there. So I always tell my, specifically my team of psychologists, we have a 24/7 EAP helpline. And we are a growing platform, so I don't have the capability of providing a 24/7 full-fledged coverage across everyone everywhere. So I always tell my psychologists, for a little bit, I can't focus on your mental health. Let's focus on other people's mental health. When we grow to that level, we'll come back. We'll address this question. We'll resolve your mental health. But I can't do that today. So, don't blame me for not taking care of my employees today, because that's part of the business that we are in. I mean, if you are in that industry doing that work, I mean, somewhere you will have to make those choices for yourself and create that balance.
Yeah, very good.
Great. So, Rajeev, what we will do now, I mean, these were the questions that I wanted to ask you. I actually would really love if you can, help define, or if you can give a little background about steward leadership. For some of the viewers, I'm sure it would be a topic that they have heard about, but for many, they may not have heard about it as much.
I already defined what steward leadership looks like. It's about those four values, embedding them in the culture, then giving yourself a stewardship purpose, which creates a collective better future, and then making sure every decision goes through the lens of those values and purpose. How we define steward leadership? We define it as the genuine desire and persistence to create a collective better future for stakeholders, society, future generations, and the environment. In other words, do well by doing good. Make as much money as you can by solving human problems. That's steward leadership. And you do that by firmly believing in those four values that I described and pursuing a purpose that creates that collective better future. And as we've said a couple of times in this conversation, you focus on one or two things, go deep, and solve those problems.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.